Right in front of us here is two very similar desktop PC from ASUS. We all know ASUS have a lot of different products, laptops, desktop, and most of the time they would have a same kind of desktop, but they serve a different type of customers with different purposes. So this two is a perfect example over here. One is the ASUS ExpertCenter P500, and this one is the ASUS desktop mini PC V500. As you can see from their chassis, they look almost identical with some minor differences. So in this video, we are going to go through like some of the aspects, like what makes them different and who should get which PC. So let's start off with the external differences. From the case itself, no one should be able to tell the differences unless they look at some of the minor characteristics. Like for example, the ExpertCenter, they actually have the ASUS ExpertCenter text printed out at the side of the corner here. And then if you go through some of the details, for example, one of the biggest and most noticeable one is the card reader at the front. The ExpertCenter comes with the SD card reader and a smart card reader. Not something we consumers generally would use. Perhaps in some of the business users, they would like to have this to be used. But for the consumer edition, they don't have the card reader slot here. Otherwise, they are identical in terms of the front I/O, one combo audio jack, two USB Type-A port, and one USB Type-C port. Now, if we switch over to the back of the case, again, they look exactly identical with the ports layout, and we have the HDMI, DisplayPort, 4 USB Type-A ports. Unfortunately, they are all USB 2 speed. And then Ethernet port and 3 audio jacks for different purposes. So enough with the rear. Let's look into the internals of both of these PC. So the side panel can be removed quite easily with just 2 thumb screws. And they are captive screws as well. And you can just pull it off. I'm not sure if you can tell the difference here. Can you tell?
No.
Yes, I mean, from the straight away you can tell that, okay, they are identical. Like if a corporate one asks you for a difference, you can't tell that. They are actually identical. So I'll just leave this one for you guys to have a look while I go through some of the components here. Again, this is a custom motherboard. That's why you can see that the layout is almost weird, to be honest, because they save up quite a lot of stuff. For example, if you look closely at the front here, that is actually connected to the front here, the front I/O. So they don't have a daughter board for this. This motherboard is made specially for this case, whereby they have the front I/O placement aligned properly with the case itself. And then if you can tell, they are not using desktop CPU. In fact, they are using laptop CPU for this configuration, and the RAM as well is using SODIMM instead of your standard DIMM slots. The only daughter port they have here is for the ExpertCenter is just now the SD card reader and the smart card reader at the bottom here. Otherwise, even the CPU cooler is a special made, I don't know how do I describe this, as a heat pipes and tower cooler Frankenstein thing. So the whole PC consists of just a single fan for the CPU cooler, and they have to use heat pipe to direct all the heat to the heatsink mounted at the back of the case here to exhaust hot air. The second fan is for the power supply. As you can see, the power supply is not standard. They are not ATX. So you might have issue in case your power supply fail. But another thing, kind of surprised me is that this power supply is 80 plus platinum efficiency. I'm like, bro, why? Apart from all those laptop components and stuff, there is one thing that is appreciated is the PCIe slot here. This is desktop class, you know. At least you can buy your aftermarket GPUs and then slot it in to upgrade your graphics performance. The package do not include a PCIe power supply cable, so you might be limited to those graphics card that do not require any external power socket input. In terms of the actual specifications, both of the ExpertCenter and the standard ASUS mini desktop PC, they are very similar. They're up to Intel Core i7 configuration, and you can go as low as Intel Core i3. Depending on your configuration, for example, like the i3 and i5 model, they might come with 8GB of single stick memory. So you can opt to purchase a second stick of 8GB to upgrade it. Otherwise, if you purchase the higher end ones, for example, there's another configuration with i5 and i7, they will come with a single stick 16GB memory. Then, of course, you can buy another 16 gigs and double it to 32. The motherboard has a specification mentioned that they can support up to 64GB. And that brings us to the ExpertCenter. Because ExpertCenter, they will start from, again, 8GB of memory that pairs with i3, 16GB of memory pairs with the i5, and then the highest end model is the i7. They will come paired with 32GB of memory. Of course, out of the box, you will only get a single DIMM slot occupied. And then, of course, the second slot you can buy, for example, the 32GB. You buy another one, double it up to the maximum of 64. For the storage, by default, you already got one M.2 SSD installed over here. If you want to upgrade, you can add another M.2 SSD at the top here. You can see, just pop it in. Remember, you will have to look for the M.2 SSD screw to screw in, secure the M.2 SSD over here. Alternatively, if you want to save some money, you can also opt for installing 3.5-inch hard disk. Just that the general consumer model, the V500, will have the hard disk upgrade kit available, while the ExpertCenter do not come with the hard disk upgrade kit, which you will have to purchase separately. So that is pretty much for the hardware side, because as you can see, they are basically identical. When you put them side by side over here, they just have a different name to it and then different configuration that comes out of the factory. But what really makes them differ, apart from that, is of course the software. Now, number one is, let's talk about the OS. The Home Edition, of course, they will come with Windows 11 Home. What makes the Windows 11 Home Edition for this one is attractive is because they have included the Microsoft Office Home 2024 for this one. This is a very enticing deal because this is a one-off license that gives you access to the basic Office applications like the Word, PowerPoint, Excel, and then you can also get a 1 year of Microsoft 365 Basic. And that will also include I believe, 100GB of cloud storage. But hey, that is a subscription base, and depending on whether you like it or not, hey, that is very useful for you guys, especially for home users and students. They might not want to purchase a separate license for the office. As for the ExpertCenter, they will only come with the Microsoft 365 trial license. That is because most of the time when these machines are being deployed to the businesses, they will already have their own commercial license available for the corporate employees and so on and so forth. So, of course, the ExpertCenter will not come with the Windows 11 Home, but they will have Windows 11 Pro Edition. The Pro Edition allows to have fleet deployment, because most of the time these kind of corporate machines, they will have their IT department that manage all the machines, the software installation, and of course, some of these machines definitely will need to join the domain of the company. Apart from that, the Expert Center will also come included with the Expert Panel, ASUS Expert Panel software. This is a software that enables business users to use various types of features, for example, for their conference calls. They even have those watermark overlays in case they want to showcase some NDA stuff over the video call. Then they will have all those watermark thing happening. All of those tools is pre-installed in the Expert Center. And last but not least, what separates these two product segments is the hardware and software support, or I would just really call it warranty support. For the home PC, as you're probably very familiar with, is the standard warranty support from ASUS. You basically get 3 years of warranty, and most of the time you will have to contact ASUS in case you face any issues. They will sort it out for you. But for Expert Center, depending on your countries and regions, some of them may have a different type of support that comes with the machine. Because this is for business, they will have more comprehensive support available for the business users. For example, some of them have the on-site support. There are some with the dedicated customer service that is focusing on their business, because sometimes they have purchased a lot of machines that inside the company, so they have a dedicated support person that is helping with them. And that brings us to the conclusion. Both of these machines, while they have, if you look at just the spec sheet alone, definitely they are similar, but they are targeted at a very different type of audience. Like the V500 here is for general consumer, while the P500 is for businesses. Price-wise, there are a bit of a gap here, as you can see from the screen. There are some price that make sense and some doesn't really make sense. For example, like the lowest end option, the i3, the consumer edition, you will have to pay 2,199 ringgit Malaysia for i3 and 8 GB of RAM. But for the same configuration on the business machine, you have to pay for 2,799 ringgit Malaysia, and that is 600 ringgit premium. However, when you look further down towards the higher end models, like the highest end one, i7, 16 GB, for the V500 is 3,799 ringgit Malaysia, while the highest end model for this P500 is 3,999 ringgit. With just 200 ringgit difference, you are getting double RAM. It might even make sense for consumers to get this Expert Center. So depending on your budget and requirements, you may need to study their differences and weigh your priorities between these two. There is one advantage of the Expert Center P500 is that you can configure this optional specification, especially like this SD card reader, this drive if you still need it, and even discrete graphics, because they can actually support up to RTX 4050 if not mistaken. But yeah, that's what you can do with the ASUS configuration. Now again, looking at the drawbacks, like for example the non-standard power supply will make the upgrade very difficult down the line. And why does the commercial one does not come with the hard disk upgrade kit is, I think it's all because of money. So that's all we have to share with you regarding these two V500 and P500 ASUS mini desktop. They call them mini desktop. And if you guys have any questions about these machines, you can leave it down in the comment section below. And I'll see you guys in the next video.